Hey everybody. So we are back for another episode review of Love and Marriage Huntsville, season 5, episode 14. So much disrespect. So I'm be honest, this episode really wasn't about anything. Um I kind of feel like, when is this season gonna be over? When are we gonna get a reunion? I just feel like at this point, Love and Marriage Huntsville is really like, I mean, they've been doing this, but rehashing a lot of the same things that we just don't need. Okay, but nevertheless, it begins by Marceau and Tisha having a date day. Marceau sets it up to where her drink is ready. And he was like, look, we've been doing this consistently or whatever, and I get it. Look, hey, they working. Marceau and Tisha are talking. Long story short, Martell tells her that, speaking of Martell, because he comes up in the conversation, I invited Mela Black. And Tisha basically is asking why. And Tisha gets mad at him for inviting Mel to Black. And she says it was disrespectful for him to contact her without telling her or having a group text where she was on it. Tisha, this is really getting old. Mel does not want Marceau, and Marceau don't want Mel. We can already tell their kind of personalities, the way Mel stands up for herself, the way she works, the things she's willing to do, not willing to do, that would never work anyway. Two, you have the nerve to fucking sit here and say that after y'all showed up at Melody's vacation house. And I am saying Melody's vacation house because she paid to rent it, Martell did not, in a place where they were paying to stay. And she was not invited by Mel. And she jumped in Mel's place, her family time, and quite frankly, her business when they were in the house talking about it's good to see y'all together as if they're going to get back together. Like, Tisha, if you felt like you were really her enemy, your second, third, and fourth questions to Marceau is, one, why are we going? Followed by an answer in absolute, we are not going. Two question. Why the fuck would we care to have a vacation with them? And she thinks I'm her enemy. And three, let's go home. We already on our way home. No, Tisha, you full of shit. Because let me tell you something. If that's the way you felt, y'all would have kept it moving. Y'all ain't just stop by and say, hey, y'all ain't bring no food. Not that we saw. Y'all didn't bring nothing. And now you got an attitude where she coming to Black. Black is in Huntsville. She in the neighborhood. Y'all weren't even in the neighborhood. Girl, bye. Anyway, so Tisha, you do seem jealous. And your behavior is contradictory, especially if you showed up at their vacation house and you were willing to be fake enough to chill with Mel. But I also think you are deeply insecure. And I know people say, oh, she's insecure. I think she's insecure because Marcel made her insecure. No, I don't believe that. I think Tisha is an insecure person. Even if you take Mel out of the equation, it would be something else. And I don't think, like, I don't blame it on Marcel. I think it's because she hasn't done enough soul searching in terms of who she is and being confident in who she is, despite all her accomplishments. And she listens to her mother's bullshit too much. Why are you doing this with other women? This ain't like, Tisha, do you want to talk this up so much that it becomes true? Like, I'm so sick of watching them have this argument on TV about nothing. About nothing. Y'all were family friends for years. Even if y'all don't like each other, cut it out, Tisha. You know enough to know Mel wasn't messing around like that Martell was. Like, this is my point. Like, just I mean, I feel like she keeps bringing it up. I don't know if she needs that to be proven to herself or she just thinks she's making for good TV. But as far as I'm concerned, that scene went on for too goddamn long. Get over it, move on. Next, Chris and Martell meet up. This was short. And Martell is looking for a place in Huntsville to launch his wine. Good luck, because it's Huntsville. And you could tell his business sense is off. They went into that kind of rustic kind of barn place, which can be cute for a different kind of party, but I don't think for a wine launch either. And Martell says he doesn't like it. He said, isn't elegant enough. I personally agreed. I actually think he was in the right. And Chris was like, well, you can pay for decor and fix it up, or you're going to pay for a place. and didn't have to pay for decor, all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's a launch. But it just seems to me that like Martell just doesn't have the know-how. He just doesn't have the know-how. And it's like, yeah, Mel really was like the brains behind it all. Marlene. Anyway, so Chris said he needed to talk to Marceau. He said, because he made it seem like him and Marceau, when they were in Atlanta, in an attempt to explain something to Tisha, that they were spending more time in Atlanta with each other than they actually were. He was like, we were only with each other for 2 hours. I don't know what else happened in terms of what he was doing, not doing, so on and so forth. I can understand one wanting to clear their name, but you ain't gonna do nothing but give Tisha more foolishness. Next, so Marceau and Mel, they sit down. Mel, I totally get it. Mel could not have been more disinterested from her face. I don't care how poker face it looked. As a woman and as somebody who works to keep it together, even when I'm sitting there like, this is some fucking bullshit, and you don't like to show your ass in public, I understand that instinct. Anyway, he tells her, he sits her down and says, he had a convo with his brother Mark. You can already see Mel like, I don't even feel like this bullshit, about his behavior publicly on social media. And he says, I explained it had a negative impact. But Marceau says it especially had a negative impact on Marceau. I'm thinking to myself, you invited Mel to talk about yourself? Anyway, so Mel says, was this convo about me? He said, well, it has something to do with your mom. She said, that has nothing to do with me. And he makes a sarcastic point, to Mel. Well, I'm glad you appreciate me telling you this information and keeping up my end of the bargain that we made at dinner about, letting each other know. Mel's face looked like, I'm telling you, it was all over her face. Like, I'm keeping it together, but I'm pissed and this is a fucking waste of my time. She was like, hey, he could have called me, so I could have politely declined over the phone. And I was like, girl, but you should have asked what it was about before you came. Just a little tidbit. Anyway, dinner with the Scotts and Martell, just all the Scotts, all the M names, and Tisha. All right, so Marceau said he wanted to cook for Maurice and Kimmy a real meal since Kimmy's been going through a lot with cancer, and he was like, and Maurice just can't cook. He said, I just want to take some things off his plate, and I thought that was nice. And you could tell Marceau knows how to cook, which honestly is probably the issue sometimes with Tisha. Like, I know he knows he can do this. Anyway, so Kimmy was waiting to tell the Holtz about her cancer until she had all her test results, to give people information. I can understand that. One, it's just hard. And when she said it took me a while to be able to even say this kind of thing before I would start crying, every time it was hard for me to tell anybody, even that my mother had cancer. And when I did tell people around me, I would just start crying. So anyway, God is good, and prayers up for Kimmy. Tisha starts complaining again about Mel and Marceau when they are having this family dinner as they prepare in the kitchen. Tisha, this is stupid. It's just stupid. And not only that, for somebody you mad about saying that they're your enemy, why do you continue to give her more material that she can work with just to antagonize the fuck out of you if she wants? Like, come on, Tisha, think. So, she's gonna see this show. So Martell, Tisha starts complaining again. Anyway, Martell shows up at the house because they're having like a dinner. Martell gets a third degree on who he's dating, about Sheree Real Housewives of Atlanta. And Kimmy was asking all the questions. How'd you meet her? You got a boo? And he's still on his bullshit. Man, talking about he doesn't want to put titles on it. We just get to know each other. That's some like freshman year in college bullshit that the boys tell each other so they can try to have multiple girls at the same time without feeling bad about it. And quite frankly, it seems like he's still in love with Mel and kind of don't want her to know too much because he's afraid like she'll never come back. She never come back anyway, Martell. Like, you can play that game with yourself, but whatever. So Martell said, when she showed Mel eventually shows up at the house, and she has on this really nice white kind of sheer, not completely sheer, but like sheer covered kind of thing right here. And Martell said she was wearing a white dress, and he was like, ironically, it was their wedding anniversary date. Martell, maybe if you appreciated these kind of details before, you wouldn't be in the situation you are now. But right now, it means absolutely nothing. Next, so everybody keeps pushing Mel to say whether or not, Martell had invited everybody to his wine tasting. He said, Mel's invited, everybody can bring a plus one. He said, Mel, you can bring a plus one. And Mel said, okay, I'll check my schedule. And he said, well, it's next Thursday. She said, I'll check my schedule. And they were like, you gonna bring a plus one? She was like, I'll check my schedule. And I'm just sitting up here like, why every time y'all get together, can y'all not accept that this woman has already done probably one of the hardest things she's ever had to do in her life? And that is divorce her husband of over a decade, whom she shares 4 children with, who had a 5th child with another woman while they were still married. And this all played out publicly, still playing out publicly. And y'all keep putting her in these situations where y'all are asking her unnecessary questions. Like, I just think from woman to woman to woman, whether you like her or not, you should just be more careful of people's feelings. That's just me. And I just want this guys to stop. Just stop. Just because y'all don't walk away from marriages or bad ones, everybody else don't do that all the time. Just like mind your business. Martell is picking when Kimmy asked, how the kids, summer, but she's talking to Mel. And he was like, well, the kids are with me. And Mel does that, I'm mad, but I'm gonna put a smile on my face because this is your warning to slow your roll. But she was asking me, the kids have had a great summer. And he was like, well, they're with me. And Mel is pissed. And I think we're going to see the rest of it next week because he's basically put her health info out about COVID to his baby mother. And I don't know how this happens because there's 2 things I can see here. Well, if Martell has another kid with her, with this side chick, and he's supposed to have that child that particular weekend, he might just say, look, my kids are with me because my ex-wife needs to quarantine. And since we were all on vacation together and the other kid wasn't, maybe they can't come. That could have been the possibility. Okay. But the thing is, Martell does not do things that are mature and respectful. And quite frankly, if that's not something Mel wanted people to know, particularly not the chick that you sat on and cheated with her on for 5 years, then so be it. Then respect that enough. That's it. That ghetto trick is gonna get on whatever platform she can get on to get attention to talk about it because she's obsessed with it in the first place. Anyway, so Kimmy finally tells Martell and Mel about her cancer. And you can tell that both Martell and Mel, regardless, they were both really affected by the news and they cared. And, they were there for Kimmy and were supporting her. Both of them were supportive and consoled her. And that's what I think is important, right? To just know that even when, your friends have gone through things, and even after divorces, sometimes people feel like they have to pick a side. But like when it comes down to that kind of thing, that's when you really want your people to be there. And that's about it in terms of the episode. Even though Mel was like, well, I have a question. They were like, nope. Last time you asked questions, everything went haywire. She was like, hey, y'all gonna do that to me? I was thinking to myself, all the questions y'all be asking Mel, at least y'all can do is indulge her, but I get it. Anyway, that was all for Love and Marriage Huntsville. I'll see y'all later for Real Housewives of Potomac. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.